One final plea tonight from the city of Waukesha. Let us use Lake Michigan as our source for drinking water.
Elected officials and residents lined up to address the people who manage this resource.
Jonah Kaplan joins us now. Jonah, why is this request so complicated?
Well, let's break it down for you, because here we are. This yellow line is around all of the Great Lakes. Think of it as a greater network, not just Lake Michigan. It's called the Great Lakes Basin. Everything outside this line, set up by Congress in 2008, is outside, quote unquote, an ownership line of these giant pools of fresh water. Let's zoom up to Waukesha and you can see where it sits, just 1.7 miles outside that line. The Department of Natural Resources has Waukesha up against the clock. It must find a new water source by 2018 because of increasing levels of radium, a radioactive metal.
My wife actually had some form of cancer that we had to deal with, and that could have been a result of this water contamination that was right there.
Waukesha resident Jeff Hine brought his two daughters today to a special meeting about a proposed solution to Waukesha's water woes: tap into Lake Michigan.
Because if we start drawing down shallow water wells, it's going to be a larger energy drain. We could potentially lose more water, and you won't have as good protection to the environment.
Under the terms of the proposal, the city of Oak Creek would sell lake water and pipe it west. Waukesha would use the water, treat the water, then send it back to Lake Michigan via the Root River in Racine. The city claims it needs 10.1 million gallons of water a day, or 1/1,000,000th of 1% of the Great Lakes. But some worry that won't be the end of it.
If you crack the sag, there are 20-some other communities that want to get access to this immediately.
Racine also has environmental concerns, especially about treated wastewater spilling into the Root River.
The pharmaceuticals, the viruses, the microbeads, the chloride, phosphorus, those things will have a dramatic impact on our river.
The Conference of Great Lakes Governors will present their conclusions to the governors of all of these states, from Wisconsin all the way to New York and the Canadian province of Ontario. It only takes one governor to say no, and the deal is dead. Carol and Steve?
Okay, no easy answers here. Jonah, thanks.
A huge endorsement for the city of Waukesha, hoping to tap into Lake Michigan's water supply. Representatives of Great Lakes states and provinces gave preliminary approval to Waukesha's request, which could set a historic precedent. Good evening. I'm Shannon Sims.
And I'm Charles Benson. It's not a done deal yet. Jonah Kaplan explains what's ahead for the city's plan.
Well, let's think of Lake Michigan as part of a greater network of the Great Lakes. And in 2008, Congress defined what's called the Great Lakes Basin. It is defined by this yellow line here. And basically, it means that every state that touches this border, every town and every city within that line, has a legal right to the water of the Great Lakes. Let's take a look where Waukesha is. It is 1.7 miles outside of the line. Waukesha needs water. Not because it doesn't have any nearby, but because the DNR considers the city's current water source contaminated with radium, a radioactive metal.
The radium could be reduced, but that would also require a major infrastructure cost.
With the clock ticking towards a 2018 deadline, Waukesha officials proposed a solution to its water woes: buy Lake Michigan water from Oak Creek, which would pipeline the water west. Waukesha would use the water, treat the water, then send it back to Lake Michigan via the Root River in Racine. The city asked for 10 million gallons of water per day, or 1/1,000,000th of 1% of the Great Lakes.
We explored a total of 13 different options. Really, the only long-term sustainable option for the city of Waukesha was to get Lake Michigan water.
After 5 years of hearings, studies, and debates, representatives of Great Lakes states and provinces voted to endorse Waukesha's proposal with conditions: fewer gallons of water a day, serving a smaller area. Opponents, though, worry any agreement opens the floodgates and sets a dangerous precedent.
It's just a matter of time before pipelines would be shooting our Great Lakes water all over our nation.
Environmentalists also worry about ecological damage, especially from treated wastewater.
With regard to viruses, with regard to pharmaceuticals, which can't be fully answered by the treatment.
The governors of all these states and provinces, there are 8 of them in the country, 1 in Canada, they hold the final say. Only one no vote kills the deal. That vote is next month. Charles and Shannon.
All right. Thanks, Jonah.